In this video, we'll look at making a web design mock-up starting with a wireframe layout using Pencil, which is a GUI prototyping tool, and then adding style and graphics in Photoshop. This follows on from the previous video about website navigation and uses the same fictional scenario, high-res records. So, I'm going to start with the layout of the homepage using Pencil, which you can download from pencil.evolus.vn. Okay, so here are all the shapes that I can have. I'm just going to collapse all the different shapes in Pencil, and I'm going to be left with the sketchy GUI. Now here there's already a grid, and I'm going to drop it on the screen there, but you can see, or you can probably hardly see, that light grey grid, 960 grid. So I can discard that. I've already made a grid myself, and this is my own 960 grid I made previously in Pencil. And each column is 80 pixels with a 10 pixel margin, a 60 pixel in the middle, and another 10 pixel margin, which goes to make the 80 pixel column, and there's 12 of them. So this is my 12 column grid that I've made. So I'm going to just copy this. Okay, I could have done Control C, and I'm going to make a new document. And before I paste it, I'm just going to resize the canvas. So this is going to be my canvas size. Now I've already got the right size, but you can see if you go custom size, they have web pages. I'm actually making mine 124 by 900. I'm going to call it wireframe. Now I can go ahead and paste my grid in there. There's the grid, and I'm just going to move it around so it's actually in the center. Now I know that it should have a space of 32, so that side, and 32 on the other side, and it should be nicely centered. I'm going to right click and lock it, and now I won't be able to click and drag it, so it's locked there for good at the moment. Okay, back to the sketchy GUI, and I'm going to drop a box on top. So I'm going to make a header to begin with. I'm just going to go for the width, which will be also 960, and I'm going to give it a height of 200. Here we go. And not 2000, 200. And I'm going to drop it in there. Now you can use the handles to drop it, but I'm not. I'm also going to change the opacity to 50%. There we go. I'm also going to lock that in there. Okay, I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a logo. So the logo is going to be there. And rather than dragging it, I'm actually going to put in the right amount of what it's going to be. And I'm going to fit it so that that 10 pixel margin is there at the side of the header. Okay, so that's going to be my logo. I'm going to stick a label in there just to say what it is. Logo. Okay, the next thing I want is a search button up here. Now there's a text field, and then there's a button, so I can just randomly drop those in. I'll zoom in and resize those to fit inside the columns. So it's 30 pixels down. There we go. That's my search button, and this is my input box. Now you can see the sketchy look just gives an idea that it hasn't got any style. It's just a layout of wireframe. Okay, now I'm going to shove some links in here. So these are all the links on the header. So the first one is going to be about, and then I'm going to have all the links from the band. Remember, this is for high-res records, and there's 4 bands. That's band 1. That's band 2. I'm just using Control C, Control V to copy and paste. It's easier than right-clicking. 3. Band 4. And after that, I'm going to have a contact us page as well. Here we go. Slightly off the screen there. Okay, so I'm just going to save my document. I'm just going to call it wireframe, and it will save it as a wireframe.ep file. The next thing I'm going to do is have band 1. I'm going to have like a box that has all the information about band 1. This is going to be 960, and it's 150. And I'm going to try and make it so there's a 20 pixel gap at the top. I'm trying to keep everything the same. I'm also going to make the opacity 50% so you can see the columns, the grid through it. There we go. So I'm going to have 4 of these. So I'm just going to Control C, Control V, and drag 4 down. So these are each each band is going to have one of these. And then I'm going to lock it when it's in place, and I get that nice 20 pixel placing. There we go. Just get it pixel perfect. Oops. There we go. Then I'll lock it in place. Right click, lock. Move it up so it's in place. Nice. And the same with the 4th one. Okay, and I'll lock that in place. Okay, so that's my basic structure. Now I can put the information about each band. So to begin with, there's the logo for each band. So I'm going to drop an image in there, and I'm going to make it 230 by 130, which will fit nicely in there with a 10 pixel margin all the way round. And a label, so band 1 logo, band logo. There we go. Okay, the next thing, I've got information about the band, some text, so I'm just going to put a little sketchy circle in there. I'm just going to try and drag it down to the right sort of size. So in the final one, I'm not going to have a circle. It's just to sort of show there's some sort of information there, and it's going to be about, obviously, about band 1. It's going to have text and links, and I'm going to have a thing about albums as well. And you can see how I've fitted that into 2 columns. Now the next one is going to be the listen, and that's going to fit into 3 columns. So I'll put that into 2 columns as well, actually. There we go, with a nice 10 pixel margin above, below. And that's going to be the listen. And I'm going to put a sort of a player widget in there. So they have a sketchy triangle, which I can just drag in. And I'm just going to put play in here. Okay, now the next thing I want is the photo gallery. So this one, I think I'll make it cover 3 columns, which then leaves 2 columns at the end for the last bit. Let's get it the right size. There we go. And I'll just put a label in there, just saying photo gallery. Good. And the last bit there is going to have information about tour dates and things like that. So I'm just going to steal the other circle, live information, tour dates, schedule, things like that. Okay, so that's the basic look of band 1. I can just copy it, Control C, Control V, and that becomes band 2. And I can copy it again, Control C, Control V, and 4th time as well. Scroll down to actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so there we have the 4 bands. I'm just going to rename them. So this one's band 2. This is band 3, and this is band 4. Okay, so that's the general wireframe layout, which we can get some feedback on before we actually start making the mock-up in Photoshop. Okay, so general layout, we've got the sizes right, so I can just save it, and I can export it as a PNG. Now I'll need this PNG in Photoshop.